Dear viewers, our topic today is the Restoration Comedy. We have discussed in our lecture on Reformation how King Charles I was executed in 1649 and how Commonwealth was established by Puritans in England after his execution. After the Cromwellian interregnum of 11 years, monarchy was restored in England in 1660 and Charles II returned from exile. Now the reaction against Puritan morals was inevitable. Charles II encouraged an atmosphere of hedonistic liveliness as opposed to the moral strictness of Puritans. Though not deeply rooted in the social life, hedonism and wit set the tone for the Restoration Comedy. The Restoration Comedy was limited in its scope. It was confined to London and it represented upper-class ethos only. On Restoration Comedy, Ben Jonson was the strongest influence. The Restoration writers derived the themes of their comedy from Jonson's plays. The first accomplished practitioner of the Restoration Comedy was George Etheridge. His first play, The Comical Revenge or Love in a Tub, was performed in 1664. It combined the main plot, dealing with gallants and witty ladies, with a subplot. The main plot revolves around the rivalries of Lord Beaufort and Colonel Bruce for the hand of Graciana. In the comic subplot in prose, the libertine Sir Frederick Frolick's French valet de faux is confined in a tub by his fellow servants under the influence of opium. It was a great hit and was performed many times. It was also important as the first example of prose comedy. His next play, She Would If She Could, performed in 1668, is a more consistently polished performance. The two honest gentlemen of the town and the two young ladies with whom they are involved have great vivacity and charm. Set in the Restoration London, the play is both satirical and enlightening. The characters' witty banter and often satirical dialogues underscore the air of self-awareness and liberation that was prominent at the time. It also highlights their newfound openness to discuss and manage their sexuality. The play mocks a societal double standard that demanded chastity for women while tolerating libertinage for men. The most obviously flawed character is Sir Oliver Cockwood. Though married, he often tries to hook up with prostitutes. Mr. Cockwood is alleged by his wife to be impotent. Interestingly, Lady Cockwood is also a lustful woman. Though she claims to be a chaste woman, she actively pursues men with whom she can cheat on her husband. It justifies the title of the play. The conclusion established a satisfactory modus vivendi between wit and virtue. The Man of Maud or Sir Fopling Flutter, produced in 1676, is Etheridge's last and most brilliant comedy. The play is more purely amoral than the two previous plays. The play has no plot. It is a picture of a society which is living exclusively for pleasure. In this comedy, a slight web of love affairs provides the occasion for brilliant dialogue and character drawing. The play is about Dorimant, a libertine who tries to woo the wealthy Harriet and untangle himself from his previous romance with Mrs. Lovewit. The comedy hovers between lust and self-interest. The wit combats between Dorimant and Harriet remind us of Shakespeare's Beatrice and Benedick. It achieves its most consummate expression in the dialogue between Millamant and Mirabell in Congreve's The Way of the World. William Wycherley produced his four comedies between 1671 and 1676. By far, the most interesting of them are the last two, The Country Wife and The Plain Dealer. The Plain Dealer shows the author at his fiercest as a satirist. Wycherley's plays show a greater reflection of Johnsonian humor as compared to the plays of other Restoration writers. But Jonson was satirizing deviations from a commonly accepted norm, whereas The Plain Dealer shows the rottenness of human nature and criticizes society as a whole. The play is a strange mixture of savage indignation and restoration wit. It is an adaptation of Moliere's The Misanthrope. Manly is a captain who goes to sea just to get away from people and prides himself on his plain dealing with other people. Little does he realize that his honesty strikes others as rudeness. Manly is in pursuit of the beautiful Olivia, a wealthy woman who is as misanthropist as he is. When Olivia jilts him and marries his friend Varnish, he attempts to gain revenge by sending a page boy to seduce her. The page boy is actually a girl in disguise. She is herself in love with him. Her name is Fidelia. When the truth of her identity is revealed, Manly marries her. The play had enormous influence as regards the manipulation of dialogue on all subsequent comedies of repartee. The contrast between public pretension and private reality is symbolic of the universal perfidy that underlies all human relations. The following speech of Manly's sum up much of the play. Generally, no man can be a great enemy but under the name of friend, and if you are a cuckold, it is your friend only that makes you so, for your enemy is not admitted to your house. But the play contains more than exposures of selfishness and lust, underlying the surface of all social pretension. What is more, there is a suggestion of Fletcher in the character of Fidelia, who is in love with Manly and disguises herself as a page boy to serve him. The real interest of the plot, however, lies in the relation between Manly and his ex-mistress Olivia, who is exposed as cruel, lustful, and dishonest, deceiving everyone, including her husband, yet in public conversation maintaining an affected prudery. The Country Wife is a more coherent and polished play. It is in keeping with the general pattern of Restoration comedy. The main plot concerns the successful device of Mr. Horner to enable himself to enjoy the favors of virtuous ladies with the consent of their husbands. He proclaims himself to be a eunuch to warm into the affection of respectable ladies. Secret lustfulness and promiscuity peep through the veneer of virtue and respectability. The play's name derives from another strand in the plot. Mr. Pinchwife has married a country girl and tries to keep her from contact with the gallants of the town. But Mr. Horner manages to get Mrs. Pinchwife too and to win her physical desire. The jealous husband is of course ridiculed and gulled. Cuckoldry is his deserved fate. But this does not make the behavior of his wife in any degree acceptable. Her perfidy is simply disgusting. She begins by being a simpleton and ends by becoming a nasty animal. The play ends with Horner triumphant, husband deluded or silenced, and lust and deception rampant. There is a strain of moral outrage running through the play. The dialogue is remarkable. The brilliant scene where the ladies compete for Horner's china contains one of the most skillful and nasty pieces of double entendre in English literature. Dear viewers, we shall be discussing the remaining writers of Restoration comedy and their comedies in the second part of this lecture. Thank you very much.